welcome to another episode of Jacob's House of Rock. Today I will be taking you guys through the Chinese copy Rickenbacker 4003 bass. I got mine about 2 weeks ago, so I've had plenty of time to get to know this bass, and I feel it's time to show it off to you guys. So, taking a look at this bass, you can see it's a pretty convincing copy just off the bat. It looks really nice, it plays well, and aside from some minor issues, overall I'd say I'm really happy with this thing. As most of you guys who have been looking for Rickenbackers or that kind of thing would know that they're extraordinarily expensive. Even though they're like my dream bass, I'd say definitely overpriced as hell, but yeah, they cost like $2,000 to $3,000. This, on the other hand, costs about $300, give or take a bit, depending on what you find at the time and what you're looking for. Before I go into this particular bass in more depth, I'll just go over the main differences between this and an actual Rickenbacker. First of all, just going on looks, you can see that this thing has a bit of a contour up on the top of the body here. Real Rickenbackers don't. They typically have a flat top. But if you look at it in the right light, you can see that there's a little curve there. Not a big deal. And it actually looks pretty nice, but just different. Another big difference, this one they have set-in necks for the most part, while Rickenbackers have through necks. There are some, I've heard, Chinese-made ones that do have through necks too. When I was looking for mine, I couldn't find any at the time, at least not at the prices that I was going for. These have a different scale length as well. So these ones are a little longer, and because of that there are a few differences. The first major visual one is you can see this one, after this last inlay here, it has 4 notes. Now, on a typical Rickenbacker, they'd only have 2, so that's like a given sign there that if you're looking for a Rickenbacker and someone's selling them pretty cheap, but you look and it has 4 notes here, then don't trust that seller. More than likely, it's a fake. Another difference being that these ones are wired slightly differently. These are wired more Les Paul style. I'm not entirely sure how a real Rickenbacker is wired, because they have a similar knob arrangement. The settings, I think, are about the same, but I'll have to look into that, because I will actually be changing the wiring in this to be a lot more like a real Rickenbacker, and I'll be changing the pickups in this, because I did order some second-hand real, genuine Rickenbacker high-gain single coil pickups. So check out, I'll be doing another video on that, so check that out in the future, and I'll do a comparison and like seeing if it's worth it and how the differences and the sounds and whatnot and all that stuff. So do look out for that in the future. They're still on their way. But speaking of which, the pickups on this, I believe they're both ceramic pickups, as you'd expect from a cheaper instrument, although this one is a little humbucker pickup, which is meant to look like a typical vintage toaster pickup that you'd find on real Rickenbackers. Though this one is, you know, those ones were single coil ones, but this one's, you know, a humbucker and ceramic, and the cheap one, but this one actually sounds pretty cool, I'd say. So, not a bad pickup. This one down here, which I don't know if you'll be able to see all that well, you can see it a bit there. It's got large pole pieces, single coil pickup. Very, very different sound, not the most Rickenbackery, but still nice. And but I will be still replacing it because it's a bit boring sounding too. Another difference is that these have a slightly higher back angle on their headstock than a typical Rickenbacker would. Just slightly higher. I should also mention I've never actually played a real Rickenbacker or even held one, though I have seen them on a show or two live. But I've always wanted one, and that's why I picked these ones up. It's my dream bass. Something that's not Actually, hold on, my phone's going off. I'll cut this here and cut right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. My phone is retarded and sometimes it beeps for no reason. Anyway. Yeah, differences between a real Rickenbacker and this. Another one is that the tone knobs on this are a typical jazz bass tone knob. On a real Rickenbacker, they have these sort of classic Rickenbacker ones, which are similar to these, but they have a silver top with you know, labels of what the different knobs do. They're actually pretty hard to find. I wanted to replace these with actual ones that at least resembled the real Rickenbacker ones, but you can't really find them for a decent price. They have some real Rickenbacker ones, but they're really, really expensive for 4 little pieces of plastic, so I was just like, it's not worth it. So I'm not going into getting those, but I'll keep an eye out if I find some cheap ones one day, maybe. Yeah, so I covered the scale length and all that. And if I think of any other differences along the way while going through this video, I will bring it up, but that's all I can think of off the top of my head. I should mention the bridge. The bridge obviously is a bit different because the scale length means that I think it has to be a bit higher up, as well as the bridge pickup here is a normally in a Rickenbacker would be a tad higher, I think, but here it's a little lower, so I don't know, it's hard to tell, but I think it would look a little better if it was higher, a little more authentic. But going over this bass, it's finished really nicely, I will say. The actual paintwork is really well done, as well as the binding. It's done very cleanly, looks very professional and convincing. I think there might be some like minor paint stuff like in here. There's like a little raised dot, but totally not noticeable. Like a little pinprick sized thing. And the headstock, this is where we get some interesting reactions from people, because I looked at a whole bunch of forums before deciding whether to get this for people's opinions and stuff, and there are those die-hard Rickenbacker fans, and they were pretty outraged by the existence of this instrument, and even more so by the existence of this on the headstock, the actual Rickenbacker Made in USA logo on the truss rod cover. Personally, this doesn't bother me. I'm not like it doesn't seem like a big deal to me, because I'm never gonna go up to people and be like, this is a real Rickenbacker, or try to sell it off as one. Always be honest about that sort of stuff, and I just really want a Rickenbacker, so the closer it can be to an actual Rickenbacker, the happier I am. So this stays on mine. Other people cover it up or change it, and that's pretty cool and fine too. But that's just my thoughts on it. So you're welcome to bash on me in the comments and be like, but I don't care. I like it. Also, I thought the real ones had like a raised logo or something, which they probably do. This one is just like flat printed on, so it's not. So on camera, it's coming out a little overexposed, so it's a bit hard to see unless I bring it real close. But it's there. What else to say? I guess I could just go over a couple of little issues I've had with this thing. But like I said, overall, it's a good bass. It's not like a super fantastic, high quality bass instrument, but I think if you put a little effort into it and do a couple little mods here and there, you could get this thing to be sounding pretty great. And I hope to do that when those when I do the wiring and all that stuff comes in, because I've already had to do a truss rod adjustment. Another difference is there's one truss rod. Real Rickenbackers have a dual truss rod, which means they have two in the neck. I guess that just helps with fixing up some of that, fixing up the neck especially might help since it's a through body. But this one has one, and you know, the truss rod works. I adjusted it and it got rid of some of the fret buzz, not all of it. and that gets me to some of the issues. It did come with a lot of fret bars and needed a setup, which I've mostly taken care of with the truss rod, but I did have to adjust the bridge somewhat. And that's where my biggest issue with this comes in, and it just might be mine or just the way I did it, but um, the bridge is raised by there's 5 screws here, here, one in the middle, and these 2, which raise this whole. Oh, sorry, might be easier to see this side, but they raise that plate there, and on mine when I did it, half of these screws worked really well and raised it no problem. There's 2 on here though, out of those 5, that the Allen key just kind of the metal in them must have just been too soft, and the Allen key just kind of destroyed that little hole in there and just started spinning loosely, which is kind of a problem because now it's pretty much stuck at this point. So unless I'm able to find replacements for these screws or a new bridge, I can't adjust it as well as I'd like to. You can still unscrew them. They have just enough tension on that Allen key to unscrew them, but to really lift that bridge, they don't want to move. I've looked online in AliExpress and eBay to find replacements, but all I could find was the 3mm wide screws that you'd see in like a Stratocaster bridge, to adjust those little bridge pieces. But yeah, if anyone knows where you can get those slightly bigger ones, these might be like 4 or 5mm wide, maybe 4 might be the max of them, but something like that. If anyone knows you can find those little adjustable screws, do let me know, because that would help me out. So those are some of the major issues. Another thing is when you have both the pickups selected, they are wide out of phase, which shouldn't be too hard to fix. There are plenty of videos online on how to rewire them, or sometimes people flip the pickup to change the polarity and stuff, and that puts them in phase. Not a big deal. I'll fix that when I do mess with the wiring and reinstalling the actual rig pickups. And the last point is the scratch plate here. This was the only thing where that looks really done carelessly. From a distance, it looks great. This whole base looks fantastic, but when you look really close up to the scratch plate, you'll see that looks like it's just been cut out by hand and hasn't been sanded or buffed or anything, so it's kind of rough looking around the edges, which I'll put up close here and you might be able to see something if it focuses. If not, then I'll probably just put up a little montage of like close-ups of this base anyway, just to give you guys a closer look. And yeah, that's about all my negatives of this thing. Overall, I think it sounds pretty nice. The stock pickups that come in it are pretty interesting sounding, especially this little humbucker. I really like this humbucker. They're probably all both just cheap ceramic ones, but this humbucker is nice. I like it. This one not so much. Doesn't really matter. I'll be changing this out anyway. And yeah, I'm not too sure about, like, I did some recording in it, and the sound is kind of like a bit thin and not as sort of tonally rich as you'd expect from a Rickenbacker. But that, like I said, that might just be the pickups or the strings, because who knows what strings these are, because there are a lot of cheap bass strings that just are pretty low, are made of not the most magnetic metals. But anyway, I'll pause this here and I will go down to my little studio area and I'll give you guys a sound demo. So I hope you guys enjoy that, and I hope this video helps you in deciding whether or not to get one of these. I think if you really want a Rickenbacker but you have no conceivable way of affording one in the near or long-term future, I'd say these are worth it, and I'm happy I got this. So here we are in my little recording, studio. I'm gonna give you guys a demo of this lovely instrument. First of all, you'll be hearing a mixture of, for the most part, you'll be hearing a mixture of a DI signal as well as an amped up signal. But just for starters, I'll give you both the DI and the amped signal individually for each pickup, and then we'll just go through a sort of random playthrough and go through a whole bunch of sounds at the end. But starting off, we will go with the neck pickup. This is my favorite pickup on this instrument. It's a little ceramic humbucker. It's probably the most Rickenbacker-y sound you can get from this instrument. Though the actual pickups Rickenbackers have are single coil pickups, this one's a humbucker. But I'm pretty sure there are some, aftermarket humbuckers that people do put into real Rickenbackers. I find it has the most full and warm sound out of all the pickups. So just a little test. We'll do the DI first. So that's the clean, unedited DI signal. Now this is the pure amp signal. Same general riff, solo. And now I'll do the same thing but with the bridge pickup. So you'll find this one's those weird, this is that weird single coil one with the very big pole pieces. So it's got far more of like a Music Man type sound or something like that. And it's also got the bridge down quite low. It's got the pickup quite close to the bridge. So it'll have a very bright sound. Not as bright as the out of phase sound we'll get when we mix the two, as you'll hear in a bit. But again, this is pure DI signal, no amp, no effects, no amp simulation. So as you hear, it's got a nice punchy sound, very bright, good for a lot of things. And now we'll do the same thing but amped up. So this is just the mic amp. Same thing, but now you will hear the phase cancellation when we blend both of these pickups, which I will be fixing when I do further mods to this later on. Again, DI signal. Same thing, but just the amp. So definitely a usable sound. Not as warm and wide as either two of them, but it can really cut through a mix and do some really interesting stuff if you want to get some more melodic things going. combo of the clean DI signal as well as the mic'd up amp, so hopefully got a much more fuller sound, and it'll be like that for the rest of the review of the video. I'll just be running through the various settings on here, adjusting the tone and blending the knobs and all sorts of stuff to give you guys just a broad sense of what sounds you can get out of this bass, because though it does have those minor issues, overall I'm pretty happy with the stock stuff you get in here. It's definitely very usable. But a little secret, I in between recording this the first part of this video and this demo, the actual Rickenbacker pickups have arrived. So I'll just awkwardly grab them from over there. Jesus. Okay. So here we go. Actual these are actual high gain Rickenbacker pickups. They did cost about as much as the bass itself, but hopefully they'll give a nice authentic sound, because the main part of what gives a guitar or bass its sound is the pickups. Like all the hardware and the build of it does definitely have an impact, but pretty much the pickups and the placement of them, like the fact that the scaling's different and that these pickups aren't in the same area as they would be on an actual Rickenbacker is going to make the next big difference to when I install the actual pickups. But hopefully it'll be close enough, and it doesn't have to sound like an actual Rickenbacker. I just wanted just within the area and to be its own Rickenbacker, I guess. Enough of that. I'll just give you guys some tunes for the rest of this demo. So with a pick you can, and like some subtle distortion from the amp, you can get a really nice gnarly sort of classic Rick tone. I do have the amp on flat, so everything's facing 12 o'clock, including the gain and the blend on that little scrambler circuit that those Ampeg bass combos have. So it's a very, very good sound, I think. do a quick little comparison between this and a jazz bass, so you can get a rough idea of the difference in tone a standard jazz bass would give you compared to this bass. So here's my jazz bass. Everything is on full tone volume of both volumes. Jazz bass. If you're interested, I do have a video about all the mods I did to this thing. It's a Mexican jazz bass, but I got it up to pretty much the standard for American jazz bass. I have a whole video about all the stuff I did to get it to this point. So do check that out. I'll get back to the Rickenbacker. Jeez. I should stop doing that. All right. made a discovery there that when you have pickups on in the middle position, and you take the neck pickup off, you take and then you take the volume down of the bridge pickup, the neck pickup doesn't work at all. So this one's on full, and yet there's no sound when they're both combined, because this one's off. See if it's the same thing if you do it the opposite way. Nope. Yeah, if you have it in the middle position, you have to have at least a tiny bit of volume from either pickup for it to work. So just a small little thing there to keep in mind. Anyway, there you go. There's my little review and demo of the Chinese Rickenbacker copy bass. Overall, I think it's worth looking into. It's definitely not the most high-end instrument in the world. I think I'd rate my jazz bass a lot higher than it at the moment. Although it's definitely usable. Like I don't believe that you really have to invest in the most expensive instruments or all this bullshit to get a good sound. Or you just have to be creative with the way you use what you've got, basically. And for that, this has got some pretty cool tones. It looks amazing. It has some minor playability stuff and some issues like the bridge and the neck needing a little adjustment. But other than that, it's a beautiful instrument, a great bass. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I'm gonna be doing some future videos installing these little bad boys into this guy, and hopefully that'll sound as good as it sounds, for lack of a better way of saying it. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that jazz. So peace out, people, and keep rocking.